we have a face for radio.
I
have a face for radio. I'm confident.
No, you guys ain't too bad, man. Like for me, I don't know, man. I've always been a bit conscious about thought and whatever, like how I look, I suppose, not thought. I am actually conscious about a lot about thought as well. Actually, I'm not going to front, but no, yeah, I don't know. Face for radio, that's it's harsh, but it might be true. Not to you. I'm just saying, like thinking of the concept in total, having a face for radio, like yo, that's actually kind of cold. And then yet we've got all these people out on this. Now you know it's a lie. Wait a minute, I know these people on Instagram. Let me finish my sentence. You know it's a lie. It can't be the truth. You gotta be lying to me. There's just no way. There's no. We're all coming out looking that fine, but then when I come see you, like looking like the other side of like the barn, and I'm like, this is the side we don't paint much, isn't it?
Right.
Call them all. Tell the paint setting up for you.
Like, do the podcast.
What's that? Say that again. Sorry, Ish. Wait. Would you say stats? Ghostface, say that again.
Yeah, I said, call the ball, man. Let them pay something up, man, on the one side.
Like,
are they bullet holes? Well, apparently this person can't shoot the side of a barn. I'm just saying. Right? It's just like it's a different thing altogether. And that's how we introduced this lady. Sorry, go on, before I came down, I will stop. Go. Let you finish. Preach.
No. I'm just saying, what if like they like tell you know what? You look better on the left side. So if you're gonna do a video podcast, just do it from the left side.
Wait, I'll be this side. I know the back of
the whole interview like this,
or is that like yeah. Or yeah, like angle yourself down. Or trying to Instagram yourself up whilst me all up. Is it? Can I add a filter? Where's the filter options on this? I want that sepia. I want the sepia. I want that kind of look. You know, make it look important. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we introduce the High Creativity Podcast. Told you was gonna rebrand it. Told you was rebranding. Told you want to do stuff, and you make it easier for you to search. And also, I think High really just does kind of explain what it is that we're looking to do on both sides. But as you can see, it's High with a dot. Or the 3 dots. I just added the extra dot for flat. You know,
she's already informed. Me already getting high already on the podcast.
Right. I'll do mine later. That's all I'm saying. And no kids as well. This is a disclaimer. This is a straight up disclaimer. Kids, no. Okay, no. Wait till your brain develops so that you can understand exactly the vibrations you're getting on. And no, I don't condone the other chemical-based stuff that you have to go to a lab and have some type of degree to make. That's all I'm saying. Excuse the dog in the background. This is real life. That's how we're doing it. This is an international podcast. Just to let you guys know, I am on a desktop. Ishmael is on his laptop, and Stats is on his phone. Mobile Tech One. Shout out to that company. If you are where he's at, make sure to hit him up.
You got to tell everybody the different locations we sitting in right now. You got to tell them that, because I don't think people will believe that.
All right, so state your. All right, so let's do it like this. I think this is a great one and the best way to introduce ourselves as well, especially with this new rebrand, new vibrations, new feel. We're gonna state our name and where we're from. All right, so I'll start this up. State your name, gangster, and where you from. First of all, I'm not a gangster or otherwise affiliated. Just to saying, you know your hip hop, you know what we're talking about. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. But I am Uncle JuJu St. Paul, all the way upgraded, mushroom like level Super Mario, boop, 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 boop. Family relations, one extended. Just saying, so I'm officially an uncle, so you can't hold me to that. And I'm here in London, in the UK, which is it? Are we still even part of the? We're part of the EU, but we're still technically Europe. Hey man, whatever. Colonizers number one. This is where I'm broadcasting from, and we out here talking us. Next, gangster, state your name and where you from.
Yo, that was dope. You know what I'm saying? From the UK, the first colonizer.
Well, technically, it might not be all the way correct. Yeah, not all the way correct, because if we want to go, we deep it. We understand the African roots and how we had to spread all out. But the legit first, we named brand number one. We put stamps on our ish. That's all I'm saying. Anyways,
whitewashing history.
State your name, gangster, and where you from.
Yo, I'm not a gangster. I'm a blurred. What a blurred is a black nerd. I'm from PA. Location Bethlehem. Not that far from Philly. And that's all you get from me. And now, the big homie, the entrepreneur, the one with the getting high right now. Even though I wish we had virtual, because I feel like we should have a virtual puff puff pass moment. But okay,
I'm sharing everything. I'm sharing the love right now. I'm sharing the love.
So state your name, gangster, and where you from?
Well, my name is C Stats. I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn. That's where I'm sitting at right now. Well, I guess you could say that we are lifted. You know, this is the higher content show. You can all get it here. This is a lovely, lovely place to be. I feel good today. It's actually Easter Sunday. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody, you know, going to church, doing your thing, Easter egg hunts, everything else. You know what I mean? But I feel good, man. You know what I'm saying? The vibration's high, paradigm is shifting, new show, you know what I mean? New look, looks great. I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? I gotta say this too to everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? Don't do as we do as you. Be your own individual. Don't follow nobody else. You know what I'm saying? If you can't handle it, don't do it. Because like I said, loopholes are deep and you will fall in it. So don't do it. But with that being said, enjoy the Sunday. The sun is trying to peek out. I'm looking at the sun right now. It's trying to peek out through the clouds, but today is a blessing, man. So give thanks, y'all.
For real. And for the first time, sun's on my side. Please don't go away. Right. Don't go away just yet, because this wasn't the same situation last conversation.
Why you praying? You don't believe in?
I didn't say I did. I said, look, it's just a full time. No, I'm just connecting my key. I'm connecting my chakra. I'm keeping
that was the emoji.
Okay,
that was the emoji right there.
Yeah. And now we go back to the talking on emoji sections. I swear, like, boy. So we got, but anyways, Jed's like all crack Alexis like is actually touched on a great subject. I think we're gonna crack on this whole Easter stuff. When your thoughts on it and whatnot, I think I'm gonna rip this one to shreds.
Before we go into the topic, Dal, you know, we rebranded ourselves. You know, today is kind of Resurrection Day. I feel like this is a resurrection moment on the High Creativity podcast. Let people get to know us.
Yeah, well, I was going to get into that, but what I was also going to say is just giving a bit of the itinerary. So we're going to cover the DMX side of things, the real crucial kind of side of the situation. I'm going to get into a little bit of a rant. Oh, that's dope. I love them stories. I'm going to do my own little rant. I'm going to touch on slightly about the whole pressures on the youth and the differences between each generation, and where maybe a bit more of a mental understanding needs to come into play so that we can leak into what we've got coming in the month of May. So now that I've done that, you're right. They need an introduction from us. I think it's actually only due course because, as you know, me and Ish were talking about before we started recording, before I press record on this, was we've kind of explained why we want to do this podcast and the reason why we're doing. We've had some great guests already. We've had the likes of Tremendous, who's just recently dropped her album Misdiagnosis of Siobhan Johnson. Amazing interview. Kicked it with Bazooka Joe Gotti, long-time underground hip-hop head, contributing to everything, you know, what hip-hop is. We've had Shamori. Is it Shamori ever who pronounced his name, isn't it?
Shamori Smith, yes.
Shamori Smith, exactly, who amazing creative, like, wow, make sure you guys go and check that out. We've had Jay Dilla's mum, Maureen Dilla Yancey, like Marjukes herself. We had the chance to really get to know her as a person. We're really dicing and throwing up a lot, and we've got great content coming for you guys, and we're hitting up people regularly. And let's not forget, we want you to join. Yes, we're not joking. If you want to be a part-time guest on this, you just want to jump in because you feel you've got bars or something that you want to say, or just you want to come and be a part of this, then let us know. For real, hit me up, highcreativity.net. Go find me online. IAmHipHop magazine. You can find all the contact details. Just drop us an email. We'll have the conversation. We'll figure this out, and we'll make sure that you're just as included as we are, because we are people at the end of the day. And that's going to be a great segue into how I think and how I am as a person. Because
real fast, real quick, bro.
You wanted the bio.
We come to the place that you matter, but if you come on with some bullshit, we're gonna let you know. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
You heard them, man. I ain't lying. I paused for dramatic effect. You didn't know what was going on. Like, huh? You gonna say something? He looking, huh? Yeah, no, he's actually 100% right. We're gonna call you on it and call us on it as well. Like, once again, knowledge is only so much. And there's only so much knowledge and understanding you can build. Let's be honest, because if we knew everything, is there a reason to exist? Which I think is also another great perplexing side of a conversation, and also just thought processes. Like, if I did know everything, then what would be the point? I don't know. But that
every day, to me, every day is a day of learning. You know what I mean? So I mean, and also to say also, knowledge. I used to think knowledge was power. You know what I'm saying? But it's not unless you put it into action. You know what I'm saying? So you're all looking at action put into use right now. You know what I'm saying? This is action. Yeah, so we're taking it. So take action in whatever you're doing. And if you want to come on and talk about it, be more than welcome. But don't come on here with like it said, don't come on here with the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people out here selling fake dreams, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what's that dude's name? Derrick something? The dude with the
Derrick
book.
Jackson. You talk about Derrick Jackson. He literally got caught out recently, real bad. Do you know what? If you want to touch on that, all right, okay. If you before we get over the intros, let's not get ourselves, because this is exactly what happens with us, guys. So just so you know, this is how conversation flows with us. But if you want to touch it, you want to touch on sorry, I've even got my own lyric, my own meme for this, brother. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Who that's coming. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it for real. Yeah, let's go let's tap into it, because I actually honestly have some interesting points about him and why I think he's absolutely the right person to be out there speaking what he's speaking. Because how else are you without talking from experience? And I'm talking current experience. We'll get into that in a bit. But let's get into the intro. Let people get to know us a bit more, and then we'll chop it up as per usual, right? So as I said at the beginning, J Uncle JuJu St. Paul. I'll give you my full government. It's James Guy Alexander St. Paul. And I'm a heavily mixed race, so much to the sense I feel like I'm confused. As far as I'm aware, my background or my ethnicity, if you may want to put it, is Grenadian, Trinidadian, Russian, Indian. Apparently it's supposed to be some Mongolian. Apparently it's supposed to be some Scottish leaked into there as well. So either way you can look at it, apparently my family and ancestors love to get around. Simple as. So grew up whole life in West London, a place called Hanwell, very small town. The last official town I am aware of before you now go into Middlesex, which leads into places like Southall, Uxbridge. And if you're from the ends, then all of these names you're probably like, oh my god, yeah, I'm from there, fam. I know their cuz. So I'm from the Queen of Boroughs, as is known, and it's called Ealing. Spent my whole life literally in that kind of middle. I think the best way to describe it is kind of middle, lower middle kind of class, if you want to put it like that. So it's a bit different here. There isn't like a fine equal divide. You either have or you're a have not kind of situation. So there's always an ability to grow or to try and do a thing. It comes with its own issues, as most places do, as we all know. But yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I was born in 85. So I was one of those kids that really got the kind of best cusp of knowing what life was like with a black and white TV, and also to know what life was like having a Sega Mega Drive, or you guys might know as a Master System on your side of it, or Genesis. I think it was Genesis was what you guys would have called it, Sega Genesis. Yeah, where I had the Mega Drive. I remember playing Sonic, them type of games. Sega. Oh, anyways, so but then growing up through 80s cartoons, so your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, the new Batman when it came out became a lot darker. Your Ghostbusters, Transformers, Jason the Wheel Warriors. That's just a few of them. That's the generation I grew up in. So I'm still part of the generation that also only had 4 channels, right? I remember the 5th channel launching out here. So when your mum was home, there's a very low chance you're going to get to watch what you want to watch anyways, because there's only one TV in the house. So you had to use your imagination a lot, link up with your friends when you're allowed out, which was also a bit of a tough one for me because of being a type 1 diabetic. So my parents kept me a little bit more strong, like a bit more closer, I think is the best way for me to explain that, because there's so much risk with being a type 1 diabetic. And just to kind of, if you've watched the previous one where Uncle JuJu has his rant on diabetes and how, I'm not saying your name again, you got enough publicity out of me for that week, but using racism and diabetes as your link up kind of thing. So type 1, for people that don't know, means I'm insulin dependent. it means my pancreas doesn't develop its own natural insulin to help balance things out. So if I have too much sugar, then I can go into what they call is diabetic ketoacidosis, otherwise known as DKA. That's when you have too much sugar in your system to the point that you're actually just peeing urine crystals. Real graphic, but you got to know. Then you have type 2 diabetes, which is closely associated more with old age or wrong dietary choices. So this is where you're more tablet based with a tablet that's well known called metformin to kind of help you out. You can actually become diabetic free, I suppose, if that's even a way to say it, or cured if you're a type 2. With type 1, depending on the lifestyle that you live, depends if later on in life you can become a type 2 or even potentially go further. Shout out to Dr. Actually, I can't even say his name because there's a chance we might get banned on this one. In fact, I'm going to bleep this out for the YouTube. So if you want to get the full version, go on Spotify. Which this will be up onto as well. And also, if you're on Spotify and you miss any of the visuals, then come to the YouTube side. Just making sure I cross those bridges, guys. But yeah, shout out and love to him for the stuff that he's done. So anyways, as a youth, I think the best way to describe it is I've always been interested in other people, lifestyles that they lived, how they've experienced lives. Big music family. My dad used to be in a band called Index. They did their own little UK funk scene. Go check out Starlight. Absolutely amazing track. If you think you can try a copy and chop that up after this, then we all coming for you because I haven't done it yet. That's where I'm going to learn. But outside of that, I've had the love and the love of music's been implementing me from a long time. Real passion about drawing and art, comics, cartoons, anime, manga as I've grown up, and really still at the same time never lost my investment within people, and I'm realizing through working with relationships. But through that this is kind of a bit of a funny segue. Sorry guys, I'm just going on for a bit, but just let everyone know, I used to have what I could call the stoop. So I was the only house on the road that we were shout out to Mayfield Gardens, where literally I'd have friends come over to the stoop just to chat with me because sometimes I wouldn't be able to go out or I couldn't go too far or they might be doing something. So I actually ended up becoming kind of like, as I called myself back then for a period whilst I was getting into my freestyle and rapping days, I changed my name to the Guru. It was from like Cyberdog to the Guru. Then my uncle named me Black Russian after the actual gun, the Black Russian, but I am a Black Russian, so it kind of did work. Then eventually evolved to Juju. Or Juju man, Juju, Uncle JuJu, whatever, whatnot. But either way, I always had periods where I used to just chat to people on the stoop. You guys know who you are. And we used to just chop it up and talk and have conversations. And I used to get a little kick out of, when you give like a little bit of well thought out advice to people, they take it, they implement it. And then all of a sudden they're like, yo, man, that actually did help. Or at least this helped kind of put me in a different track. And the same was kind of vice versa as well. So that kind of explains how I am and very lightly into being, but that's pretty much me. And also, if you find that I stop or I find myself like this or it's because literally I found since a kid my brain works excessively fast. So and just to show you how that works, because I've got a history of stuff, I am and still can be a freelance photographer. Well, I have been, or I still can be a freelance photographer. I'm writing my own graphic / fantasy novel. Doing this, journalism, podcasting, DJing. I can still bust a semi-freestyle. No, I'm not going to do it here because I ain't really dusted things off for a while. But I'm sure you can catch that on the Hip Hop IG Live and that. But still happy to do that. An artist, an illustrator, graphic designer, a generally good confidant, and just person to know. And the way that I have that reciprocated to me, and I'll never be that unhumble, that too overconfident or brash, is because I have to be reminded by the people and peers that are around me that I've built close relationships with, like Ish, like Stats, like Rish, like Hodge, like Lianka, to Anna Maria, to all these people that I know, and even shout out to Soul, Jermaine, to Jermaine, or Jay, as we all know him as well. And I have to get pushed and reminded by I do a lot and I have an interest in a lot, but once I find something that I'm willing to do and I'm willing to try these things, and that's the way that I work. And that's the reason why my brain's always firing on synapses. And just to finish it off, I'm a heavy dreamer. So if you talk dreams, you know about dreams, hit me up. I'm all about those conversations. I love my little dream spaces. So that's me in a bucket, I suppose, a bit long, but it's a bucket as much as I could get it. So that's me, J Uncle JuJu St. Paul, to the lightest way. And the rest, you'll get to know through conversation anyways. Ain't that great?
I think they got everything they needed from that, bro. And thank you for you know, letting people know, because you know a lot of people don't know you. They know you from here, or if you are on follow IAmHipHop, they know a little bit of you, but they don't know too much about you. So yeah, man, we appreciate with this rebranding that people actually get to know you. And now to me. My name is Ishmael Street. Born and raised in Jersey. I live in PA now. I've been in PA for almost going on 20 years now. I was raised by a single mom for like I said, most of my life. And then my stepdad came into my life. He changed my life. And it's important that, you know, as men, you know, it's important to have role models. And so he was like my first role model. And then like later in my life, as well as, you know, I have an older brother. Don't talk to my older brother as much now, but you know, I do have an older brother. We're 3 years apart. Um, we had like a close relationship earlier. You know, I looked up to him because he was the dude. You know, we all have that older brother that we look up to. Like he was the one that had like the fresh clothes. He had the cool people. I always try to like wear his clothes when he wasn't around. But eventually he would find out and then beat me down for doing it. But I would still do it because he had all the fresh gear. And then growing up, I would say I had a good childhood, you know. We didn't have a lot, but my mom made the best out of it. Same thing with my stepdad. They made the best out of the situation. They had kind of I would say, a weird relationship, which I don't want to get into. But it was a good childhood. I must admit. And then like growing up, you know, trying to figure out my passion. You know, I didn't know what I was really a passion about. And like later, like when I was 15, you know, I kind of got into writing and I started writing poetry. You know, I was a big fan of Saul Williams, Pablo Nador, Nikki Giovanni, Sana Sanchez. I started reading those great poets, and that kind of inspired me to start writing. And then, you know, I used to write just for a passion, and then from writing to a passion, then it became something I wanted to do, and so I started like later in my life, you know, I started to like recite my poems. Like my first start was being on this YouTube radio show called The Love Jones Experience with Scottish Jones. That's when the first time I, you know, recited a poem on radio. And that was a great experience for me. I was a little nervous because that was kind of like the first time I actually got out there to share my work. And then she loved it so much to have me back on. And then from there, I would just go behind the scenes and help the radio show out. So what I would do is work on getting guests, and got guests, and then became a part of the show, would help putting the show together behind the scenes. And then from there, we got DD Turner on, and that's how I linked up with Stats, was through DD Turner, because you guys were working on the Chronicles of a Hip Hop Legend book. And the reason why I found that, because I'm a dude that do some research. I'll do research, and I found out about that, and I'm like, yo, we got to have him on, and that's how we started that relationship. And then it was a great relationship that spanned into the radio show.
Right.
And we did that for what, like 3 years?
Yeah. It's still up too, Mixcloud.
It's still up.
Make sure you plug that Mixcloud. Check out the Chronicles of the Hip Hop Legend radio show. Is it TCOHLL or HHL?
The TCOHHL.
Yeah, that's the one. TCOHHL. Almost there. See, told you, brain. Go on, sorry, dog.
And that was a wonderful experience, because that kind of gave me the insight of how radio works, you know, the behind the scenes, getting the guests. Like DD was a beast. She was the one doing all the audio, putting everything together. So that was dope. But at the same time, while I was doing that, you know, my full-time job was, I was in retail. I've been in retail all my life for almost 30 years, being in management. So being in management, that kind of helped me with that too, because I always learned. I was always good with socializing with people, networking with people. So I think that's one of my biggest talents is networking with people, because through that I build relationships. Because you guys always say like, how the hell does Ishmael be able to get these motherfuckers on?
Word.
Because
Facts.
I'm just good at building relationship with people and keeping relationship with people, because I come from a place of being truly genuine, that yes, I'm invested in you. I want to get to know you, and I'm going to keep that relationship with you. And so that's where I come from, that premise. And so from the retail world to radio, that kind of meshed in together. And then also learning how marketing works on the social media aspect, which I think I'm pretty decent at that. And so just over time, just loving to get to know people and seeing behind the scenes and doing this and doing that kind of propelled me into like doing other stuff. And then like later on, I built a relationship with a gentleman by the name of Avon Poole, Day with Daddy. He created this nonprofit organization for fatherhood, because he's a single father. He's a single father, and so he wanted to highlight fathers. And so we connected, and I did the social media for Day with Daddy.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
it was it's dope, because it was just all about changing the narrative and highlighting the importance of fatherhood. And so that kind of got me into the fatherhood world and gave me the insight. You know what I mean? Even though I got the opportunity to meet so many awesome dads, they told their stories, and that kind of gave me that energy to create something, a platform for men of color and fatherhood. And so that sparked the idea to create Dad Is Not a Noun, which, I created. And, it's a social media platform dedicated to men of color and fatherhood. And so from working with Daddy, even though that didn't work out, I wanted to create my own lane. And so that's why I created that lane. And so it started from social, just posting images of different dads of Black fathers, initially was just Black fathers, and just doing that, pushing that out there. And then COVID hits, and the store that I work at, I don't want to promote them until they pay
Don't.
me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not. So
Become an advertiser. Holla.
yeah, right. And so they shut down. And so I had to figure out like, what can I do while I'm off? So uh that summer, that is now became my actual business. It's an LLC, so it's official. I did that. And then the next step was like, what am I going to do with this? And I'm like, oh, create a podcast. So that summer, I created the podcast. I did the YouTube, and then now I'm on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you find. So what happened was COVID gave me the opportunity to just harness like, what do I really want to do? Because for the longest time of all my life, I've never tried to figure out what was my purpose. What's my purpose in life? What do I want to do? Do I want to be like in retail management all my life, or do I want to create a space where I can highlight people as well as thrive as an individual? And so by doing the podcast, that kind of opened the world to talk to other people. Like my first guest on the That Is Not a Noun podcast was Jane Elliott. That was my first guest. I don't know how the hell I was able to do that, but I was able to do that. So that was my first guest, and I just started building from there. And then I linked up with Juju. I've always kept in contact with Juju. I'm like, yo, Juju, like I think it was you that brought it up. Like, yo, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And like, all right, we start building. And then I'm like, yo, let's bring Stats. And that's when I hit Stats up. I'm like, yo, Stats, we creating this podcast. You want to do this? And it's like, yo, I'm down. And we start having a nostalgia about the Chronicles of a Hip Hop Legend radio show. Like, yo, we should never ended it. They should have just kept going. Because, we felt that traction coming. Even though we were doing it for 3 years and the fan base kind of stagnant, but we kind of, I felt that there were there's the traction there, because what we were doing was different from what other people were doing, because they added the literary series with the podcast. which was never done before. Never,
Facts.
never done at
Guys
that
were
time.
years ahead of what you were
Yeah,
planning
we
to
were
do.
years ahead, and I just felt like if we kept on going, pushing the literary series and the audio and the podcast, anything's possible. And so
Facts.
to keep a story short, that's me a little bit in a nutshell. You'll get to learn more about me over time. I pass the mic to Stats. Stats is all you, brother.
Before we get into stats very quickly, because this is a good opportunity to say we are looking for a female host. I'm hitting up a few people that I know, but even this goes out to the group and to anyone that's watching to this particular point. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Furthermore, and ring that notification bell to let you know when we're all uploading. Okay, but we are looking for a female host as well because we want to. Yeah, we need that feminine energies, even though we're in.
That's always
It's not the Jehovah
that's always
Witnesses
a good sign.
doorbell. We're not the Jehovah Witnesses, so don't worry about it.
Hopefully, we've already established that.
Okay.
Sorry, Stats, what you be saying?
Go ahead, Stats.
Excuse me, but everybody, my name is C Stats. I'm originally from Brooklyn, born and raised. You know, I didn't really have a father growing up. He was kind of out of the picture. I remember, the whole separation thing. I was in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Regular kid shit, riding my big wheel. All kind of shit like that. And I, that was like maybe when I was 5 years old. I remember, getting up like 5 in the morning with my mother every day. Going from Queens to Brooklyn, going to school in the morning like that. That's one thing about my child. I hated getting up, in the morning. And I did have an older brother, which I didn't grow up with. We connected later on in life. I had other sisters that I never really connected with on my father's side, but it was just me, me and my mom, for a while. And after a while, we moved, to Bayview Projects out in Brooklyn, and at the time when I moved out there to Canarsie, it was a lot of racism. You know what I mean? It was deep. Deep racism was heavy out in Canarsie, man. And that was actually my introduction to racism living in Brooklyn. It's crazy because, you wouldn't think all these things go on in Brooklyn, but they do. You know what I'm saying? Like Brooklyn has different areas where blacks don't live, and there's places where whites don't live, and fortunately, my mom worked hard, you know what I'm saying? Like she was, doing what she had. I remember even going to school with my mom when she was taking classes in college. I was going to school with her, man. And so it was a lot I seen when I was a kid, but we moved there and that's when I really got to explore, you know what I'm saying? Like my moms would be like, yo, don't go nowhere. I'll be like, I'm out. I'm on the Belt Parkway doing wheelies, meeting other kids in other parts of Brooklyn, and it was cool. And then my little brother was born because she met my stepfather around that time when I was 12. You know what I mean? And he was we had our differences, we had our, you know, there's still a lot of differences, but like I said, I love him. He showed me. He's the one that introduced me to entrepreneurship at 12. Because I lived in the projects, whatever. And what I used to do, I used to go in the trash and get old bikes. This guy just drove really close to my car, but I used to I used to go in the trash and and get bikes, man. And and I started taking them apart. I would clean them up, paint them, put them back together, and give them away, or ride them. You know what I'm saying? And when he came around at like 12, he was like, "Boy, the hell you doing? You better sell them goddamn thing." So I was like, "Huh?"
Profit to be made, man. What's wrong with you?
Make that money.
He was like, the hell you doing, man?" So I started, selling bikes. You know what I mean, 12 years old. You know what I mean? And I wasn't selling for much, like, 40 bucks, 30 bucks. I was a kid. But that's how I got into the whole entrepreneurship thing. And then, I was going to school, doing, regular kid shit. And after a while, I don't know how I got into DJing, but I was really into bikes. You know what I mean? And I actually rode, you know what I'm saying, like semi-pro, and the what is it, the NBL, you know what I mean? And there's something, I think it's the AB, a National Bicycle, you know what I mean? So, it was cool. Then it was a company called Cyclecraft, You know what I mean? Like they had, gave some stuff or whatever for really low prices or whatever. I didn't know nothing about being sponsored. I think that was sponsorship back in the days. Get a check for it, but I was just a little kid with a bald head. I had a bald head at the time. See all this hair here? There was none of that. I had a bald head, and because I was nice on the bike, they used to nickname me Jordan because I was
Right.
dark skinned with a bald head. So
Racist.
Racist.
Yeah, it was kind of racist. Like I said, I was introduced to things not really knowing. You know what I'm saying? Because I was young. So to me, it was
It was a
oh shit.
compliment.
I took it as a compliment. You know what I mean? It
Mm.
was like, but it's crazy because a lot of the people that gave me the nickname didn't look like me. You know what I mean? So I was that was certain, but they were all teammates. I was the young dude. They were older, so they basically taught me, and that's how I gained all the knowledge of doing all the bike shit. So that took me to like Philly, took me to different parts of Long Island, different parts of went to Boston. I went to a lot of places young, and and I got to experience a lot of stuff. Just being a kid. But I think I had left that alone because people that did look like me were like, "Yo, what the fuck? What you doing, man?
Right.
Like, you right, like flying around on a bike and shit, jumping in the air, doing tricks and shit. It's like, what is you doing?" So I was just like, so it's like I got pulled on one side, and that's when I left that alone and kind of went the other way a little bit for a lot of years. But in that other way, I got introduced to DJ. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna front to all you people that know about Technique 1200s. Technique 1200s was like the must have. You gotta have. If you didn't have Technique 1200s, you wasn't.
You
shit.
weren't a DJ.
So,
you weren't a DJ.
Facts.
But at the time, I'm young, like 14, 15. My mom wasn't trying to buy me no Technique 1200. You know what I'm saying? So
Them's expensive.
Yeah, real expensive. So I being creative and going without some, really makes you use your mind. You know what I'm saying? It really makes you do things.
Yeah.
And that's something I use to this day, doing something with nothing. How can I do the most with nothing? You know what I'm saying? And that's how you get across. So, my step pops, at the time, my mom's, they both worked for the Board of Ed. You know what I'm saying? She was a paraprofessional and he worked, as the custodian. So I used to go to the school all the time, ride my bike in the gym. I had the time, I had a dog named Bullet, and I used to bring Bullet to the school. And dogs, people know dogs got nails, and the gym floors is shiny and shit. So Bullet used to have fun just sliding across the floor trying to run. You know what I mean? So we used to have fun in there. But he gave me a lunch table, a cafeteria table. So I actually cut that shit with a saw and made my first coffin. Shit was like 100 pounds, but I made my first coffin.
Right.
I had a Fisher Price turntable.
Explain what a coffin is for people that don't get that confused.
For people that don't know what a coffin is, you're not a DJ. A coffin is where you put your turntables and your mixer in. This is what you set it in, so it's stable. You know what I mean? And that's your setup. You know what I mean? I didn't have a cover, but DJs, they put the cover on their coffin, and this is how they transport their equipment to the parties, to wherever you got to go. So I wasn't transporting that. I wasn't a mobile DJ yet. I wasn't doing no parties, nothing. But in the house, I had my coffin set up, cut it up, heavy as shit. I had one Fisher Price turntable, and I bought a Gemini turntable, which was trash. Gemini made some trash ass turntables.
That's because it's belt. That's because they were all belt. They weren't direct drives. That's the problem. They were belt drives. They weren't direct. You pull that back once, the whole record's coming off.
You couldn't. The one I had, you couldn't even pull back, and you put pressure on it. It was like you was on the boat doing the wave. You know what I mean? So that shit used to jump up and down, everything. So I was like, fuck, man. But I was eager to learn. So, in Brownsville, shout out to to DJ Larry. There was this dude named Larry that used to live on my block, and he used to do all the block parties and shit. So all the hood used to come out, everybody hot dogs or whatever. But I used to be amazed, like, yo, Larry really playing. He live on my block. He got 2 1200s. I was like, yo, I gotta get with this dude, man. So I used to my best friend Jermaine. That just happened to be his uncle. Shout out to Jermaine, man. Yes. Jay Banks, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody in Beeville. Dub, Murdoch. You know what I mean? My man G Dean, Kev. You know what I mean? Kev from Christopher, Kev from Sackman, Junius, Christopher Ad, everybody from, everybody I grew up with, man. But he was like, he used to DJ these block parties. So I got cool with him, and he actually loaned me a 1200 because he wasn't really DJing anymore. So he loaned me one 1200. And so I was like, I'll put that shit on. So I put it on my right hand. So I got nice with my right hand on the 1200, and I had the Fisher Price on the left side. So when I started doing parties, that's just how I did them. One Fisher Price, one Gemini, and not Gemini, and one Technique. Got nice on it. Then I started doing, doing mixtapes. By now I'm in high school, and this is how I met D.D. Turner, Derrick. This is how I met Derrick. Me and Derrick been cool in school ever since. We was all chilling.
Yes.
But he knew I was, you know what I'm saying? And I was selling mixtapes in school at the time. I was DJ Source. I was cutting shit up like a Ginsu because I had the 12. So people was buying the tapes. So he was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Later on, you know what I mean? Because I was doing that in school, this is why he was like, yo, I want you to be a part of the book. You know what I mean? Because I saw your drive and shit. I saw what you was doing in school. He's like, yo, I want you to be down. But, I was always selling everything. I sold fucking my I don't know if I should say this, but whatever. Boy had his finished. But he used to work in the school, so he used to give me bus passes for the year, for the whole year ahead. So I used to sell them shits. Right? Used to sell them in school, bus passes.
It's your past hustle, man. It's your past hustle. It's your truth. Speak it.
Yes, man.
Yeah. So I used to sell the bus passes. I used to go to Franklin Mills and Redding. You know what I'm saying? We used to have the aluminum foil bags coming out with all kinds of clothes to come home sell. I was selling everything. You know what I mean? So he was like, yo, I like the drive you have. So, we started doing that. But then also because I was DJing, you know what I mean? I lived in the Ville. There was a group called ICF, In Control Forever. You know what I mean? Shout out to Mikey Bones and Drew Shine because, they knew I was DJing. So they put me on as their DJ, / personal manager. So, I was doing things for them. You know what I mean? I got them in touch with another label called Six Element at the time. This is how we got the write-ups and Word Up Magazine, Double XL, The Vibe. Like, we was on tour. We toured all over the place. And that was like a beautiful time because I got to meet everybody in the game. You know what I'm saying? We toured with Fat Joe, we toured with Big Pun at the time, rest in peace to him. Met the Man, Red Man.
That's my
it
dog.
was everybody. Yeah, Miss Jones, Keith Murray. I mean, EPMD, everybody, mostly everybody in the game that that we had a chance to share the stage with. But the most memorable time I'll say was Survival of the Illest tour. That's when Def Jam was Def Jam. That's when Def Jam was like bananas. So at the time we had a manager named Eric Turner, and shout out to Eric Turner, man, because he introduced me to like the game, like the game. So we're in the Apollo, you know what I'm saying, all day one day because the tour was stopping in. So we had all access to everything. We backstage with Jay, we backstage with Dame Dash, we backstage with Foxy Brown, we backstage with Met the Man, everybody. And Met the Man used to call my man Mikey Bones General Hershey because everybody would be chilling, smoking and shit, and be like, General Hershey. It was bananas, bro. You know what I mean? And this is when shout out to Keith Murray too, because this is when I first met Keith Murray. Keith Murray, we was all backstage, and the backstage, it had a window and this big staircase in the back of the Apollo. You know what I mean? So Keith Murray just came through asking everybody for a Lucy. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got Lucy? He just got off stage,
right.
Bro.
So before you continue, so people know Lucy is a loose cigarette, just so that people don't think it's something else you're looking for. Because it's a catch up game.
Lucy. But that's a joint.
I remember Lucy. Lucy. I remember Lucy.
Yes.
It was crazy, man. So that day I met everybody. Foxy Brown, I met her on the balcony area. She was just chilling up there. I went up there. I was chatting, spoke to her, and and this brings in. Well, I saved that DMX story because the DMX story happened on this day, so I saved that for later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we had camera phones, shit would be different. But so that was that, and before that being in, shout out to Slamming Records too, because ICF was the first group on a breakbeat label. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we kind of broke barriers with that, and so after all the tours and all that was said and done, You know what I mean? That's, me and Derrick, we linked up after that. We did the show. The book was first. Shout out to, the Wong Darling. Rest in peace to Wong, man, because he was the original artist because the book started as a comic,
Rest in
and
power.
yeah, and we did a lot with Wong. Wong, his art was different, man. It was like he was drawing life. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
this dude was really drawing life on the paper. It didn't really look like art to us. And this is how we knew, like, yo, this is what's supposed to be. So, Derrick, I call Derrick the wordsmith. This dude, his grammar is sick, bro. And you know what I mean? And this dude doesn't, he didn't at the time, there was no college, no nothing. This dude was just talking like a straight scholar. You know what I mean? So he wrote a business plan and sent it to American Express, and we had won this contest with Coca-Cola and everything. We went on tour with Eve, Mario, John Starks with the Knicks. We toured all these schools around the country, man, and we met all these kids, and it just like it's like a nostalgia, man. Like it gives you purpose. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
from then on, I was like, I'm all in. I'm all in with the book. I don't give a fuck what it is. We're going to do it. You know what I mean? And it took us far, man. Like, a lot of people were reading it. We did the audio book. When Wong passed away, with the creative minds that we are, we had to switch everything up, and, rest in peace to Wong. But, it's like everything happens for a reason. And it's like, sometimes I feel like I miss that dude, but I was like, yo, if he didn't pass, I don't think it would have took the direction that it took.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he touched
Mm.
he touched on something major. I don't even think he knew what he was touching on. You know what I'm saying? And he was way ahead of his time with his art, man. Because I've still never seen a comic the way he can illustrate it. You know what I mean? And because we valued that so much, we would never let another artist touch the book, never. So
Right.
because of that, it switched to a novel, and the novel led to the radio show, and it even led to me being right here, right now. You know what I'm saying? So what I mean? That's basically that in a nutshell. As far as the youth life. What I mean? And that led to entrepreneurship now. With Mobile Tech Home and Auto.
Shout
That's
out.
like still. I mean, shout out to, you know, Waleed. He's one of the partners. Shout out to my brother Charlie. He's another one. I mean, these dudes, they really, they're younger than me, man. And I said to myself, if I'm gonna make stuff work, you got to channel into that younger energy. You know what I'm saying?
Big
And
up.
and what they did was like bananas. I mean, it took a while. You know what I'm saying? But you still had to, press on it. So man, I just got to give thanks for the journey. That you're always going to have obstacles and things going on. But you got to wake up and say that's just a part of life and just keep going. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
you know, I didn't, as far as successes, to me there was twice as much failure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you don't learn from your failing, like I failed 98% of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I didn't even tell you about all the entrepreneur things that I tried. Like there was, what I mean? Like I had a t-shirt company, the classic line, that was going for a while. That failed. You know what I mean? I tried another mobile company in the beginning that failed. You know what I mean? I tried to have a car sales company that failed. You know what I mean? Like it's countless things that I tried that failed, but you always take something from it and apply it to something else.
And
And
that's the whole thing.
yeah, that's the key to success, basically. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But people don't get that part. But in a nutshell, it led me here. The road is not stopping, and I feel like everything is just beginning. And for this show right here, what I mean? Like I feel like this is different in itself. You know what I mean? And you can feel certain things, when you're doing it. And I can't just do something just to do it. You know what I mean? So I
Mm.
can't just sit on here with two strangers and just have a conversation like this. It ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? So, but that being said, man, we all thinking as one, and that's the thing that gets it going, you know what I mean, and
Mm.
keeps it moving, and that's what progress is. And, if one thing I don't like to do is give up on anything, and this is what I'm gonna say to everybody, you know what I mean? Like giving up is not an option. You know what I mean? And just like it said before, we had the nostalgia talking about yo, we should have never stopped the, radio show, blah, blah, blah. But in all actuality, we never did, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because as long as it's fresh in your mind, it'll be reality soon enough. You know what I mean? And that's the key.
Mm.
You gotta hold it inside long enough until it comes out and manifests to what you're seeing. And I'm a true believer in that. You know what I'm saying? And it could get way deeper to what you put in you and everything. But I'm just saying that you hold it long enough, man, it will manifest and it will be real. So I mean, shout out to everybody that's on the entrepreneurship endeavor. Shout out to everybody that has a podcast. Shout out to anybody that's just, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody that's just, real with themselves. Shout out to IAmHipHop too, because I was always impressed with the mag, and shout out to them for even supplying the platform. You know what I'm saying? This is higher learning. This is the higher creativity. You know what I mean? This is, you're just going to operate on that higher plane, bro. That's it, man. So
well, one thing no, you do. No, thank you. No, thank you to everyone. No, seriously, but because you know what I've realized as well whilst listening to everyone's stories is, believe it or not, guys, ladies and gentlemen, and everything else in between, or whatever pronoun you choose to associate yourself with, I've never known these guys more than I have done over this little short section of period of time. But I just goes to show this was going to touch into what you just said. Somehow I'm able to have these random conversations with people, like where you said, like, this isn't something you could chop up with. For me, you can put me in it as long as I can gauge it. As long as I can gauge where and when, should I say, I can interject and add my little two pieces on. That's how I end up meeting with people. Most people, you're probably, I wouldn't be shocked to say, is like, you just spoke and then that was it. And here we are 5 years later, or a couple months down the line. But I think what shouldn't be missed with this particular segment and this bio and introduction of ourselves is how much history and depth, knowledge and love. Like for me, being a DJ myself and a radio host, then knowing that that's how I met you guys through the Chronicle of a Hip Hop Legend when I was just finishing off of my West Side journey, which I was a bit indecisive with because I felt, it's like you feel like you're doing a lot, but nothing's being reciprocated. But I still have never forgotten that craft and skill, because I actually started watching, funny enough you're saying, I was watching back my old clips. My cousin, shout out to HN Spice, who was recording a lot of my radio sets and the things, not the whole thing, but little clips and bits and bobs. And I started to sit back and I was watching. It's like, oh my God, when I'm actually there now talking on it, it's like, oh, this is young me, because, or young, not young me, but young radio me. I'm pausing. I'm like, what should I talk about? What should I say? What should I do? But the music's still dope and this is still flying. I just think to myself, it's like what Stats exactly said. By not forgetting or giving up, it doesn't mean you've given up if you put something to a side for a moment and you've taken something from it. In order to be able to expand, in order to be able to grow, in order to be able to develop, use these things that you've learned, the trials and tribulations, the failures, because I think that's one of the key things to take away from what Stats was saying is like the amount of things that we've all done that have failed, whether that's job promotions, whether that's business opportunities, whether it's working, whatever it may be. I can be as a testimony, is it a testimony? I think is the right way. Testimony, yeah. Thank you guys. As to where we are at this particular time. So I would say we're on the lower number side. There's been a whole pandemic year's worth that we could have got a lot more things done, but because of our lives and the way that things have interjected, we are here right now. It's not about jumping onto the bandwagon once the bandwagon is rolling. The reality is you might actually be on one of those already. Just keep on going and find new ways to advance yourself. But at the same time, don't be scared to pull back. If you're burnt out, if you're stressed out, find things that you enjoy. When people talk about guilty pleasures, these are things that are actually causing you detriment to your health and mental well-being, or just your health in general, including mental, physical, spiritual, however you want to tie it all up. But the reality of the situation is if you're still going to keep some of these things in your chamber, if these are going to be your backup in your magazine, forget using the gun connotations, but it's the truth. We came from arrow. If you want to put it like that, let's go back to arrows. So if you have that in your quiver, whatever you've got, you can pull it out and use it when you need to, because sometimes you're not going to realize or remember until a certain situation or feeling comes into play. And I think that's the beauty of what we've been doing with the No Name podcast up until we now decided to call it the High Creativity Podcast, which is a bit interesting in its own sense of a journey of things. But I guess I got a shout out BJG, who said I was on High Creativity Radio, where it just made me feel, let me come out of my shell a bit more and speak to Ish and say, well, look, this is what he's already named it. We're calling ourselves a No Name Podcast. Is already No Name Podcast already. So no disrespect to you guys. Hashtag NNP. I know you guys have been doing your stuff. But the reason why we wanted to keep it that transparent is so that we can let you know that, just look from the bio. Literally, just look from our bio. This is taking up a majority of the launch of this. That's why we're giving you this now, is because we don't want to have to we don't have to go back to it all. But this is where we've all come from so many different lives, so many different experiences, so many different interactions. But yet we've still managed together in the same little room, streaming online, thanks to the beauty of what technology can do. And here we are. And in a sense of calling it the No Name Podcast is just because it's just easy for it. It's like, why do we have to name something when we're having conversation? I don't name that. Oh yeah, I had this conversation with Ishmael, which we do. So hear me out with this. I know it's a bit confusing, but it's not like I label that conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, this is this specifically, and these are the only reasons why I talk to these people, and so on and so forth, which you might do. But for us here, we just like to chop it up, have a laugh, and have a joke. Like, look, if you look at our age basis, I think I'm the only one that said, yeah, I'm a 95, but you know, these are my elders that I'm talking to. But I still can talk to my youngers and olders. And like I've been told many a time over, how old are you again? People start talking to me and they forget my age. Why? Because I communicate with you. And no, that does not mean I exempt all that other BS that happens with this whole conversation here. I'm just saying I am mature enough, if that's the correct terms.
Yes, sir.
Look, I'm looking at you, mature enough to say, I can just talk with people. We can just converse. That's as simple as it is.
Mature ain't got nothing to do with age.
Huh? No, it doesn't. It never doesn't. You can speak to a 10-year-old and they've deeped you on a whole bunch of stuff that you never know. They've straight up capped you on certain things. And you're like, I can't even question that. Because when you start trying to think of the excuses that you want to give to others who are at your age or just further along in their journey in life, that's what we use as excuses. So like Stats was hinting on to the same way Ish is the same way I am, is that look, it's all good talking, it's all good giving reasons and excuses for you not doing what you're doing. Excuse me, like I said, I need to learn how to intake breath a bit more. Anyone who wants to give me free training, I'm also available. Just saying. Yeah, well, yeah. Just listen to virtual JuJu. That virtual JuJu. See, I call myself Uncle JuJu. That's a little insight right there. But literally, I suppose. Well, now I've completely lost track. But look, long story short of everything is there's always something to experience. There's always something to deep ourselves in with, and in this world where we are with communication, this is where we forget with our youths. So before we get into the crux of everything, I might as well use this time for my little bit of a rant, and then we're going to go jump into our other subjects. We're going to chop up about Easter, we're going to chop it up about DMX, and especially with your story and good old D Jackson. Woo! I can say, hey, it's gonna be this as a rebranding episode. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. So thank you guys for hanging in. But yeah, we show you when we put it. We got stuff to talk about. But my rant is gonna be about this, right? I know I've already been talking a lot. Maybe it could be good for a break, but these are the thoughts and considerations that are coming into play anyways. Is we forget, and I think this is great because of where we've all just explained our little pieces of history of growing up and what that's been like. We come from a generation where being outside and interacting with people, that's how you get your stance and you get your kind of appreciation of where you kind of sit within the animal kingdom or the human kingdom, whatever, not looking to offend anyone. But that's the truth of it all. But at the same time, we've come from a places where we are the have-nots, or there isn't enough of. You might know the person who's got cable over on your side. We had cable and obviously Sky over here, satellite. So they've got more TV to enjoy, more cartoons to enjoy. They might even have a TV in their room, whereas we didn't. And even if you did, it might just be for your little, your system and such. So that encouraged you as well. It's like, oh yeah, but even if I'm going to play a game, I want to play games with my friends. Like I want to play, if I'm going to play a computer game for a little bit, then I play that with my friends. Then everyone's like, oh, it's nice. In fact, it's nice outside. And your parents have said, yeah, you guys can go out. So you might jump on your bikes, go on a little adventure, or you might literally just go out, play football or some kind of football here in the UK, soccer in the States, Either way, you might go out and just be active with your peers. Like when you used to go and approach girls, you had to find out from your brethren what worked for them and what isn't going to work for you. Why is it that I can walk up to Missy and you can walk up to Missy and I get nowhere with her, but she gets somewhere with you? So everyone starts getting together. So you're actually physically in contact with people, so you can smell, see, and touch them. Shout out to the scratch and sniff generation. We remember that. And aside from the scratch and sniff, you still you are interactive with people, and you'll show social peers and groups. And yes, it did come with a lot of backlash to a load of other people. Mental health and well-being has been a thing that's been consistent for all of these times. And I guess for myself, when I can and where I haven't been, or try to act up with your friends or whatnot, I spend time with people who might be seen as a bit more as an outcast. And other times I haven't. I've been blatantly part of that bully situation because I've got the same dopamine responses and serotonin responses as other people have. We've lived life. Now let's flip that, right? That's for me being born in 85. Now imagine being born from 2005 upwards. So not only have we now gone from a generation where hip hop still was on that back and forth of, you know what, it's not just all about the bling and the violence and the you're still getting your Talibs leaking through, your Mos Defs leaking through. That's now slowly getting put under. Now we're going into the platinum era, and I'm just talking hip hop related because I think that's probably the easiest way to associate this. But the materialism gain started to go through the roof. And then technology started to advance as well. I come from chat rooms. So you could still be getting catfished by some old pedo looking for that conversation then. But you wouldn't, you would be like, oh yeah, but I want to meet. Okay, yeah, send me them pictures. And if you have 2 bits of notice about you, or 2 bits of sense, should I say, be like, yeah, I ain't gonna meet you. That don't look legit to me. Or you carry on a conversation. Or better yet, give me a phone call. And if they ain't ever willing to get, and bearing in mind, phone calls at these in our time, they cost. You didn't get 3 minutes. No free text. These things cost back. We had to go to phone boxes because we couldn't use our parents' phone lines. That's what I'm telling you the struggle is. And that's the real talk. But that made you realize as soon as you pick up that phone and that does not sound female and you're age enough, all of a sudden you're like, clook. Nah, not playing that. All right?
True.
Chat rooms became extinct because of it was literally a cesspool for these people to come to. So now we had direct messaging, MSN Messenger. Now we've come up through those areas where you're actually to a point where you're like, you want to meet these people. And if you were fortunate enough to have a webcam or, you know, where technology was getting to that point, there was a little bit more of this. Now let's jump another 10 years ahead. 2015, 6 years ago, how much of things are evolved and changed. And the reason for me going down this line of a run is because it touches into what we're exposing all of ourselves to, and especially the youth to. This is a conversation I was having with my cousin, because what triggered the whole thing is why do they want to take their lives? And I said, and when I really sat down and thought about it and took 2 steps back, and I thought, well, why wouldn't they? Imagine this. Your best friend has got 1 million likes. It's an extreme, but they got 1 million likes for doing a side post of their whatever, regardless of the age, right or wrong. They've got 1 million. You do the same thing and you only get 500,000. How does that sit with you in your own mental and well-being? And also knowing there's a whole bunch of commentary to go with that as well. A whole pile of commentary to go with that. So now literally you are consistently exposed to nothing but onslaught. Now, here's quick another flashback. So like I explained, you used to have to be around people, get those rejections first place, how these things work. You could even talk to her friends. Her friends might even be into you, and they're explaining why, because they want to get with you. Where is that now, though? You don't get, we've had as much as it was harsher in a certain sense for us, because we're having to physically deal with people, we had a buffer. Now you don't. Now the reality of the situation is, which we all knew, bearing in mind, right, that we used to have something. Think about all of us here. Why were we able to get to here in this particular journey at this particular point? Because we all knew we had to bring something to the table. That's what it means. Whatever it is, even a small faction, bigger faction, but this is what it is. You couldn't just Control Alt C, Control Alt V. So copy and paste for those who don't know the shortcuts. There's just no way you could have done that. Whereas in this particular generation, that's no longer the case. It's exactly what is known, what is liked, what is whatever. And you're sold a consistent illusion that you can make it. You can have the car. You can have the clothes, you can have the girls, you have to have this, you can do this, you can do that. That's the reason why you're finding people taking their lives, or now, Instagram having to rework algorithms to not have like showing and having all, this kind of that visual acceptance to things, is because it's starting to destroy how we are as people. Now, will this always be the case? No. But will it become viral in a sense of an actual viral disease? Not in a good way, in a bad way. Will that then start to consume a lot of our generations going forward? Yes. Because it doesn't matter how much mental health and well-being that you have or support you have. The reality of the situation is, even I still have it, because I've come from a generation. Yeah, you need to blow, man. You need to, you just need to kick off, man. Yo, son, we're going to blow. This will be it. Yeah, crazy. We're going to do it. We're going to be big. Everyone going to know us. We'll have all of that stuff. But then as soon as you start to creep towards that and you realize who's putting in the work and who isn't putting the work, it's just in the same way that you never get shown what work has to get put into to make these things work for you, then you don't get it. And that's the honest truth. And that's the reality of the whole situation. This is how fickle we are as human beings. And this is the reason why I believe a lot of the youth have a harder struggle, and where we need to step in, not to just show to them. It's like, yes, I like the answer of just like, you see this? If I, better yet, silent when I go to bed. Right. In fact, when I wake up first thing in the morning, instead of checking on what messages I've got, who's hollered at me, whatever it may be, spend 5 minutes just alone thinking about if you can remember your dream. Right. Just even think about what day you've got ahead of you. Just take that 5 minutes. Like, there's little things that where we know can help, because we know a life without. When you've grown up in a life with this being consistently here, from having your parents to your family just giving you a device. Here, you know what? Take this, go on a tablet, just shut up. Take this, just go play the game, just don't spend nothing. Right. Because there's people that are coming in and out of that as well. And that's how we've ended up now. So the purpose of this particular rant is, we need to be here for each other as much as physically and spiritually, mentally and digitally possible. Okay. The way things are going, it's not going to change, but how we choose to accept it is what's going to change the narrative. Because don't forget, they're telling you all of this stuff. You think that you need to do what someone else has done to succeed, without finding, well, wait a minute, where do I fit on this? Great famous words, which I heard from P. Diddy, and also from The Rock from Helter Skelter. Shout out to the whole Helter Skelter clique, Smith and Weston, R.I.P. P. Yeah. Same way when they were giving their advice. The reality is not everybody can be the rapper. Not everyone's going to be on the front. This whole thing that's working takes a whole bunch of hands to make. So don't let them sell you that dream that all it takes is a good couple posts, an OnlyFans account, or whatever it is. Because when that dries up, which is undoubtedly going to do, and the next trend's going to hit, where are you going to be? Are you going to use your experience? You're going to use your connections, or you're just going to reach out to us? For real talk, this is why we are here once again. High Creativity Podcast. Where else can you get this better? In fact, this should just be just a general therapy show. No, I'm joking. We ain't got the rights for that stuff. But I'm just saying, it's like, look, just reach out to us, all right, or reach out to other people and have those conversations. Yeah, you might not be on the front lines, but the reality is all we're trying to do is survive. And if that bank is where you want to survive, then we're all trying to achieve that regardless. Don't value your worth by what other people value worth as. Value your worth for who you are as a person. I know it's easier said than done, but I know for a fact there's another, my boy Ish, like I know we've gone through some serious dark times and dealing with these things right here. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's Uncle JuJu's rant for today. Now we can get into the regular motions and everything else. So.
Well, real fast, I just want to add to it a little bit. Your rant adds so many layers to it when you talk about the materialism going to around that generation. But to me personally, I think materialism is as American as pie, like racism. Materialism is a part of the American culture. You know what I mean? If you go back to the days of like the George Washington and when they wore the wigs, that was a form of materialism. You go back, if you go jump ship to the 80s, that was like the evolution of materialism. You know, when someone had that was the start of when people using credit cards. And
Was
you
it
saw
though?
commercials left and
Wasn't it
right.
more? Was it? Sorry to cut. Wasn't it more after the industrial
Yeah,
boom after World
yeah,
War II
that was
when America started to really push out, their
yeah, yeah,
advertisements, and so that's where materialism really became a thing. But
right.
anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut. But anyways, go on.
No, it's all good. But yeah, but like I said, I know I jumped many generation, but again, materialism is just a part of the U.S. culture DNA. That's not gonna go away. Um,
Mm,
Number two, it's just the philosophy that these generations living in is that high school mindset is the same thing we dealt with when we were in high school, like high school books, likes this that. Like if someone didn't sign your high school book, they felt like it was something wrong with you, and
that's the way I
then
see the world, though. Like the
yeah,
fact is,
yeah,
I still believe that. Oh, sorry, I should have maybe added. Sorry, but that's a
you
great
got
point you touched on. I just want to miss it. Is that I believe that certain people peak in their understanding in the world from 13, and those who peak at the ages of 18 are the ones who basically are where we kind of are. Where even though you're getting that knowledge, you start to realize that there's certain things that your knowledge isn't adding up to. And I look at
right.
the world, and if you think about it, if you go into these like when you watch the one the BBC and they have the House of Commons and they were having these discussions, a lot of times, and even with the direct conversations that they have or questions to active members and people who are leading, it literally is worse than high school. A whole bunch of people yelling, "You didn't do this, you didn't do that, you don't look
Right.
like that, you don't rah, rah, rah." And that's but how is that not changed for any of us?
It hasn't.
Right, but I see like one thing because I was listening, and one thing that that I didn't, that I think that's a big issue. Not even an issue, but it's just the American way is consumerism.
Yep.
Mm,
Consumerism is a whole nother aspect that nobody's touching on because we as people are led to consume everything that we see. And this is why they call us consumers.
mhm.
So if you want to talk about materialism and everything else, that's all under consumerism.
Yep.
And the reason why a lot of these kids have this problem is because they were born into extreme consumerism
Going back
where
to the
you can't even consume a whole 3-minute song anymore. You have to have a clip of it. So there's so much stuff to consume right now. It's bananas. And this is why you have people so focused on the screen because all
Mm,
they're showing you is different things to consume.
yep.
Now, with that being said, you know, it's always a different perception of everything. You know what I mean? So,
mm.
like I was telling you before, it's more science than it is anything. Because if I want to sell you a dirty ass sock with stains on it, all I gotta do is hold it up and smile and tell you this sock right here is my lucky sock. I had this shit on 8 months. If you wear it, you're gonna be lucky too. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And somebody gonna be like, "Oh shit,
Yep.
You know what the
I
worst
need
thing
to
is?
get this lucky sock."
If you have a winning lottery ticket or something that happened by chance, and you say it's because of this sock I won the lottery, and you can prove it because you've got that lottery money, all of a sudden someone now sees value within your dirty
Bro,
sock.
you don't. Let me tell you how simple it is right with these days with consumerism and this whole aspect of wanting everything with no work put in. Right?
Mm,
I can hold a dirty sock and just show you a picture of a Lamborghini.
Yep.
I don't have to
yeah.
be in it.
Photoshop.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even have to be in it. I just show you a picture of a Lamborghini with me with a sock in front of you. You're gonna be like, "Yo, we got the Lamborghini with the stock." I don't got to tell you it's mine.
And that funny thing,
This is
funny enough, all you need to put is hashtag lucky sock, and that's it. Done.
that's it. That's it. So it's so much, and this level of consumerism has been scientifically researched so much for years that you can't get out down to the colors that they show you, bro.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about, you know, these kids being born into this new era, they're born at the height of it. It's only going to get more. It's only going to heighten. It's not like when we were little. Like I remember when I had my first cell phone, I think it was Easy Talk or Easy Mobile or some shit like that. Telemobile, something like. And this is the times when you had to press N on the phone. If you didn't press N, your minutes just keep running.
Yep.
I got a bill for like $1,800. I got a bill for like $1,800 because my mom's didn't press N on the phone she was using. This when we had the big brick phones.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's where the flip didn't cancel the call. The flip was literally to protect your numbers. That's Motorola days. Understand that. Your SIM card used to be a freaking. Oh man, this isn't even a joke. No, I'm sorry, guys. I have to use some visual references with this shit, which is gonna get myself wherever. So this is an Oyster card for people that use it. But that was the size of your SIM card. That was your SIM card. That's your SIM card that you put into your phone. Just letting everyone know.
The size of a credit card.
You know, it's bananas, man. So it's like, you know, and you know, my thing was always, you know, because you know I wasn't really into like the norm, like where I didn't really follow what everybody else was following, so it was just like kind of different for me. But I used to always say, like, I used to always look at it like all these people looking at the screen, you know, oh, you know, this person got likes, this person got that, and I used to be like, yo, just pull the plug. If you pull the plug, you don't know who's doing what. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's the problem.
If you just go, if you looking at a screen like this and you turn the other way, you don't see what's going on. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like I said, consumerism. We're at the height of it, so you can't get away from it. No. Everything is heightened. When you see your favorite musician is on TV with 18 Lamborghinis, big giant gold chains, and everything, you like, yo, I got to get that. But you don't know that shit could be rented. That shit not his in the video, and you don't even know if the is real.
But we know that now because this is actually a beautiful segue to the Easter conversation that I want to tap into. But it's exactly just that though. When I found out, I think it was like an article in, I can't remember if it was Source or XXL magazine, so I'm not going to quote which one it came from. But I remember reading an article where the artist literally broke down and said, all of this stuff that you see is rented. These aren't the chicks that they're rolling with regularly that they're pressing. These aren't the cars that they're regularly going around rolling in. These aren't the regular Rolexes and chains and money they're throwing around on a day-to-day. This is all for show. And it was from that moment, it hit me. I was like, yo, what? You know, it's like, come again. Reread it.
Everything is selling.
Yeah, and I was like, they're selling. I was like, they're selling you a dream.
Right.
I look
and that's what I was going
like one of those crappy infomercials at 2:00 in the morning, you know.
No, but they look crappy, so you can't trust in it. Oh yeah, if you take these drugs, it's gonna do all of this to you. You're like, yeah, okay, good work for the stuff you did before, but this is the depth of the pie that I'm looking for, right? But with this stuff, there isn't a disclaimer. It's not like at the beginning of the video that they put out to say there was no jewelry, cars, or women hurt during the making of this video or owned by artists.
Look, there was one group that did it. The Roots. The Roots made a video.
Fair enough, shout out to the Roots.
You remember that, right? Shout out to the Roots for doing that. And they made a mockery of that shit. Like they told you a long time ago what it was. But you know, even down to like a commercial. Like look at McDonald's, right? You think McDonald's is going to show the real burger that they serve you on a commercial?
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? They're selling you an illusion. And when I saw the science into going behind just doing that, using paste, glue, and all kind of shit to make the burger look, putting wax on the bun, and all, I'm like, yo, this is all science. Man.
I didn't know it was that far. No, because shout out to Sam Stowell Photography, because he does a lot of food photography for some big people who I've known from my uncle and since I was a kid. So I've got to see behind the scenes food making. So like when you're taking the not just food making, but taking for like the actual images and photographies, it's not always warm but they're never giving off the illusion that it is. They're just trying to make it look pretty, but the things that he uses and his team uses are all natural, right? So there's nothing that's whatever. But when I heard that Burger King, not Burger King, sorry, is it Burger King or McDonald's? Even all of them, they're using things like dry ice. Yeah. They've taken these shots through all these other things. They're painting on what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, man.
Right. But it's just selling you an illusion, bro. And this is where people get caught up at. Everybody's caught up in the illusion. You know what I'm saying? And it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like, these likes are not real. You can't take these likes and put them in your pocket and go to a bank and be like, listen, man, I got 1 million likes, man. Right. Give me this loan. Right. That shit don't matter.
Give me some credit on likes.
That shit don't matter. Yeah. Nobody gives a shit about how many likes you got. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying?
Give me 5,000 likes this week. I'll give you back 10,000 next week. You lying. I can't like that. I don't like that.
and it's just crazy times because, you know, on the same note, like, there's this kid on YouTube. I don't know this kid's name, but his parents are making money off of just filming him playing with toys.
Oh yeah, you know do you know? Just to make sure I get that correct. Now carry on, because I've heard of him. He was actually mentioned on the Charlemagne podcast recently as well with the Brilliant Idiots podcast, I think it was. But it's like he's a sensation. And the same way with the Kinder Egg, the Kinder Egg toy thing. Like, literally, you're paying people. Anyway, sorry, go on, Stats. I didn't mean to interrupt.
But my point is, do you think that kid cares about how many likes he gets?
No.
He don't give a shit. He's just playing with toys. You know what I'm saying? He don't care. He don't even know what's going on. So it's like that alone shows you how unreal all this is. He's playing with toys. No gold chains, no Lamborghinis, no nothing. He don't care if you're watching him or not.
God, sorry to cut.
All he cares about is the toys.
No, I'm sorry, yeah, but so we're gonna show you how we're bridging out, and I mean, we're supposed to segue to the Easter thing, which I'm gonna tap into off this as well. But you're definitely right. So just waiting for this to load for you guys, but just to let you have a bit of an understanding. So yeah, this is what
you still messing with AOL, aren't you?
No. I'm messing with Stream. I'm messing with the company that we're using right now.
What?
But yeah, there you go.
What? Yo, he made $22 million.
No, his parents made 22 million. Because let's be literally honest. So his name is Ryan of Ryan Toys Review. So yes, the kid himself, literally, for him, if he was to look back to that and say to his parents, I was worth 20. This is what I brought you in. 22 million. How much of that money do you think, other than the toys that he's getting, are his parents giving to him? Because I've even heard that in some of his videos, his dad or whoever's recording it is trying to speak more and get involved to try and help plug himself or theirselves, because they know that literally they're going to get exploited. Like, they know as soon as they tap into his money, everyone going to look at you like you're a piece of doo-doo brown. And like we said before, no, that good piece of doo-doo brown, just doo-doo brown. No, you just doo-doo brown. You don't get no melody with that. You're just bad. But bro, that's what I'm saying. 22 million. Bro, so from this article that I found on Forbes, so shout out to Madeline Berg for putting this together. So Ryan of Ryan Toys Review really isn't that different from any other first grader. The 7-year-old loves trains, cars, and he giggles over Disney characters. He builds entire civilizations with Legos. Right. So I'm going to kick into this as well. Except when he plays, he does so in front of a camera. An adult, presumably, then promptly uploads the video onto his YouTube channel for his millions of followers, most who are elementary school age peers. So here's a scary factor for everybody here, right? So first of all, that's where YouTube are getting the money from. That's legit, because they're not charging them anything. So let's deal with that level of consumerism, right? Second of all, I don't know about you lot. I don't know how long you guys played with toys. Or maybe I played with them for far too longer than I maybe should have. And that's where my imagination's always been key, and where I've been able to be as creative as I am in the imagination and creation sense. But then we used to do that for free.
Yep.
And with each other.
Yep.
But now, because someone's decided, yo, let me just film my kid doing this, and how many other people have now tried to go off the bandwagon with that. So without spending too much time on it, we're going to leave that with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Live and eat that as you may.
All I gotta say before we move on is this is the digital version of pimping your kid out.
Yeah, facts. But then again, it's like it's no different than putting a video together for you for what we have over here called You Being Framed, where your kids are doing stupid stuff. You submit the video and you might get, you know, a couple hundred or however much you get. I won't like to put a number to it because I haven't got the right amount, but you get paid for putting funny videos up for yourself if it gets shown. You know, it's like no different. Or if, like you said, like when you were talking about you're not going to get paid for your likes. Well, you get paid for your streaming outs as advertisements and things kick into that whole stuff. That's how that's happening. But that's also what I was meant to tap into as well, was all these likes that you're getting, these people that you see instant success with, exactly like you said, you can't bring that to the bank. So anyways, loving the conversation, absolutely loving the conversation. But back to consumerism, Easter. Let's touch on this. Let's touch on this quickly, right? Before we get into our other little bits and the level, because we touched on this on Valentine's Day. Go back to make sure you check that out on the No Name podcast episode where we literally go in about, you know, Valentine's Day and my personal views on certain things. Come for me, I'm here. But real talk, like Easter, once again, another pagan-based holiday that's been twisted into with a Christian twist, and I have no beef saying this. But what I find so hilarious about this whole Easter period is exactly what Easter really means. Do we all know what Easter really comes from?
Break it down, brother.
Right. So it's the pagan celebration for the spring solstice of fertility. So the eggs are supposed to represent the eggs within the womb. The rabbits are supposed to be the fact of, well, rabbits, as they say, they're humping like rabbits. There's a whole thing that's tied into it all. So this right now, spring, summer is supposed to be our most highly sexually active parts of us as being humans, if you go by the pagan sense and whatnot of how things work. But now all of a sudden, we then want to add on to this being involved with a Christian-based holiday, right? And not only then do we want to skip over the quick, because I'll never forget if it's the death of Christ or birth of Christ. I always don't give two flying whatevers. I really don't care. You guys stay in your feelings, I stay in mine. But then not only did it go from fertility and the right time for us to be as one and get together, start to have children, we then go to a man on a cross, which people then praise for being the segue to God. And then we now go to selling chocolate eggs, which we then say to our kids that we're going to plant in different places to go and help them to find. And this Easter bunny is going to come up to you with a basket full of chocolate eggs. Thoughts?
Go ahead, Stas. You start.
Like I said, man, everything is based around consumerism. You know what I'm saying? And this is why you have all the, you know, the rabbits, the Easter eggs, the chocolates, everything that, you know, that's selling on, you know, on part of it. You know, and Easter is so sewn into the culture. Like people are always gonna, you know, celebrate it just like they celebrate Christmas, just like they celebrate everything else. You know, but you know, no one really cares to, to dig back and to really know, what's going on. You know, and you know, when you look at history, you find all sorts of things. You know what I mean? And for me, it just got to the point where, but it's just like, you just don't really bother to really explain it to, to people anymore because, people are just going to take their own point of view. You know what I mean? So pagan holidays will always be celebrated. You know what I'm saying? You'll always see the rabbits around. You always see all these things, man. And, all you can do is just, practically just teach, what you know to others and see what happens. But, Christmas, Easter, those two things are, from what I learned, completely false. You know what I'm saying? And what can you do? You know what I mean? And, the whole thing with the eggs and, the fertility and, all that, man, it's just, to some people it's damaging. You know what I'm saying? They can't really digest, certain things because it's so sewn in. You have all these churches like, you know, I'm sitting out here now, and I'm seeing people, you know, coming from, you know, church, you know, and everything else. You know what I mean? And you know, what are you gonna tell them? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna tell them? And you know, and we could take it back, you know, to a control thing. I mean, because it is kind of control. You know what I'm saying? It's more, to me. It's more of control than anything now. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you don't follow certain things, you'll go to hell, or this will happen, or all this other stuff. So it's more about mental control, and I can even take it back to even the books they gave us, to Willie Lynch days, to Jim Crow days. You weren't even allowed to even read the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And and if we did read it, you know what I'm saying, it was pages torn out. It was like false interpretation of everything. You know what I mean? And with that being said, like I said, if people really look back and dig, you would know that a lot of these things are not real. You know what I'm saying? They're false. You know what I mean? Valentine's Day, everything. And just the other day, this probably doesn't have nothing to really do with with Easter, but a lot of people like to get married on Easter, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I was just listening to this comedian, I forgot his name, and I just happened to find out where the engagement ring came from. You know what I'm saying? And
what did
it was
he
from a
say?
company.
Because I've got my I found out a version of where the wedding ring came from as well. But what did he say? I'm interested.
Well, it was from a diamond company called De Beers. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
And
right.
they were losing money. They couldn't sell any diamonds. You know what I mean? So it was around the times of war. All the husbands were out at war, and all the wives were at home. So what the Biz did was they had a whole campaign of diamond rings on women's fingers, smiling, and the diamonds, and this and
Marilyn
that.
Monroe and all that. Yeah.
It's our girl's best friend and all this other stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So these soldiers came home, from war, wanting to, buy their wives these diamond rings, because their wives were like, I want a diamond ring. I want one, blah, 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 this and that. So this company actually just raised the value of diamonds on their own, because soldiers would started buying their wives these diamond rings coming home from war. And of course, you coming home from war, you want to get married. So this is what they were doing, coming home from war with these rings when you married. This led to the whole thing about diamond rings, engagement rings, everything else, and this ties to consumerism and with American culture, and that goes along with Easter, with the eggs, the chocolates, the gifts, and everything else. Christmas, buying the Christmas trees and all this other stuff, the cartoons and everything else, man. So I mean, it's real deep. It's so deep, you know what I mean, that you're not gonna come out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's so
let me
real.
deep you on this, right?
Mhm.
So what the comedian touched on was partially right, because I started to deep dive on this a good couple years ago. So yes, you're right in a sense of where diamonds became excessively popular. In a sense, it became a pop culture thing. The second thing a lot of people don't know is that this company actually has a load of diamonds. The problem is that diamonds, especially in that part of the world, are just regular pretty stones. They serve a purpose
Yeah.
in a way, but they're just regular pretty stones. So what they actually then decided to do was choke the market, or make it seem like that these stones are extremely rare, even though they've got a massive amount of stock backlog effectively. Also, this ties into the reason why, if us was to go to Africa, mine for diamonds, someone comes up with literally a diamond this big, but it's unrefined. Even if we were to get that refined, get it to look like a big, massive, pretty ass diamond, right? Which would be worth cakes right now. If it's not done by the right person who's actually certified, that diamond is worth nothing. So when people get a lot of these things done, they don't know that there's actually a specific way that they laser or etch in a certain design to let you know that this has gone through the correct means. So that automatically means anyone who's mining for diamonds automatically isn't rich, even though they should be. They should be able to take a pocket full of those raw diamonds, get them polished, and then they should actually be in wealth. But because it's not done in that certain way, there's nothing to be earned. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, lost stats for a minute. Then the other side for the wedding ring or the engagement ring comes from actually, once again, pagan times. Right. So what they used to do is they used to actually get married. When he got married to a woman or became betrothed, they would tie them into the center pole
Right.
of their actual huts, right? So what they wouldn't be able to do is to leave their space. But once the space became maybe either too limited or they felt comfortable for their missus to go out, they would take a piece of rope and tie it around that what we call the wedding ring on the right, the left hand on that on this particular finger here. And once they had basically tied the, sorry, I know you just joined back, but in a sense with the what I was just explaining to Ish was, when it came to the actual initial engagement ring, this was once again a bit more of a pagan thing. They used to tie their missus or their betrothed to the middle of the actual hut. And they'll have a piece of rope so they couldn't leave. That was it. Now, when they felt that they can trust them or the space became limited, they would then tie a piece of rope with a knot on the top. And from that particular point was where the kind of engagement ring, or to say that you're a taken with this particular person, came into play. So it's great points that you touched on, literally because of the level of consumerism, because of the fact of wanting for need. And also, once again, it's just how you portray it to someone. Nah, I've got this. You ain't got it because you can't afford it, or your parents ain't about it. Then all of a sudden you are now consumed with getting that, even if you might get it years down the line. You might, just because you could say to yourself, you know what, they couldn't afford any of this stuff, so I now can. So in turn, funny enough, consumerism has this great butterfly effect that you might not get it now, but you're definitely going to get it later on down the line. But anyways, Ishmael, your thoughts on Easter?
No, my thought on Easter is that you know, you have the consumerism aspect of it. You know, you want to profit. People want to profit of people's false beliefs. When it comes to the religion aspect of it, you know, my feelings is, if to me religion is like a luxury. It's just something that people go to when they're like down in their luck and they want something to believe in to get them out of their, you know, situation. And so with the religion aspect, to each his own. If it makes you feel good, all good. But at the same time, if it affects, you know, other people in a negative way, then we have an issue. So my feeling about it, if you're happy about doing the Easter thing, all power to you. You know, you want to dress up, go to church, all power to you. If this is going to help you become a better person, all power to you. That's all I got to say. I'm not going to go into a deep philosophy rant on Easter. You know,
no, that's I don't think we've done enough. when we smack that one up on subside, it says, so you guys got our views already. So right, so we got two last little bits, as we mentioned, that we'll touch on. So we know this is a bit more of a lengthier one, but this is the launch. This is the rebrand. This is where we finally settled and said this is us, and what we're going to consistently try to provide to you guys. Because once again, I will keep that word as try, but we will consistently have something always for you. So what I was going to go and segue onto now was going to be a certain Derrick Jackson, who got caught out here, which has been covered by so many different. Shout out to Abra and Preach. Love you guys. Amazing what you guys are doing on the freeness. And then you can also check them out on Patreon, which we will advance to at some particular point and have merch involved with it and a whole heap of other good stuff. So just bear with us. We're coming for you guys. But other than being covered to head to toe, is just like Stat said earlier, we're not trying to be out here getting caught out giving advice or telling you guys what to do without talking from our own experiences, the things that we've observed. And also, as you can tell, for our grand understanding of things, we always find a way to be able to bounce off and see things from as many spectrums as we can, because that's how you have a great debate and a great conversation and understanding. Do we expect you to walk away and feel, oh yeah, you know what, it all makes sense to us now? No. And if it does, cool. But is that all you or is that all us? Always ask yourself that whole question and where you sit with it, because you are entitled to your own feelings, even though people don't want to tell you so, even though you feel that you're going to be cancelled. If you truly feel that, understand it. Why does someone get upset with it? Try to understand that if you got the time and patience for it. But this is where it goes back to me with Derrick Jackson and the fact of like what I was saying earlier. he's absolutely perfect for the job that he is doing, because he's managed to sell that same dream to his peers. I'm not gonna bring his business into this, but she is part of the equation regardless. I'm going no hold bars with this. You were literally out here telling why brothers are trash because you were out there consistently delivering that trash. The same way you can speak to a garbage man from 20 years ago and speak to a garbage man of today, and they will tell you it's vastly different. We have to pick up recycling. There's now chemical, there's now biological, there's degradable, there's undegradable. That wasn't the case 20 years ago, or it was. We just didn't pay as much attention to it. But this is where I'm going to give my little track that I came up with. Just my little, it's not in a whole track, it's just my little meme for this whole thing, but it goes simply like this. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, your son weren't for real. He got caught out there plenty times. He was out there spitting plenty lies. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, your son is trash. He out there and he's smashing plenty, but he's out here married and I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. But your son got caught out there solidly, man, for real. And you know what? I'm happy for it, because what I'm finding more and more as we're now growing, and I think this is where we need to really start using this digital age that we're into, is stuff like this. That's why I listen and follow to the podcast that I do and I'm invested in. So shout out to the Half Cast podcast from out here. Shout out to even Flagrant 2. Shout out to the Brilliant Idiots podcast. Shout out to the David Banner podcast. Shout out to the Mo Gilligan podcast. Shout out to the ZZ Mills, she just does a ZZ Mills. I'm not sure if it's officially a podcast. Link Up TV, to people like Chunks and Philly, to the Shoe Fits, to all of these great productions. And that's just to name a few. So sorry if I've missed, and a Bill Burr as well. Is the reality of the situation is there's a whole bag of people out here who are generally doing the same thing that we are, because this is a notion that we have. We believe it's better to have the conversation and also to help fill in the gaps for those people who never really thought that way. It's easy to switch on your phone and say, this is how I feel because my mate Dave or my mate Ewan or my mate Johnson, they all follow this. We laugh at it. We share it in our group. We all keep things to a side. Just know you're entitled to your own feelings. And that's why I tap into the whole thing of people like Derrick Jackson. It's a great intention that he was out here with. And he was doing all the stuff he was talking about. So he had the right to talk on it. I think where for a lot of people get upset is that he tries to claim himself to be this person. But if I go from memory, I don't think he's ever come out there and actually physically said, I do this. That's why I'm a great man. No, he's just said, if you're a man and you do that, it almost feels like it's his guilt trip. I'm not trying to get him out of jail free card here, because there's no way for him to come back from this. But the problem is how people have received his message. They believe he is talking from a place of, this is what I am doing. Now we talk about consumerism. This is actually a really great episode. It kind of comes to consumerism and tapping into it. But this is how much we consume. This is how scary it is. It's because I don't think I've ever seen, all he's done is said, don't do this. This is what you do. You're trash if you're doing this. But I don't think there's one point where he's actually physically worn that t-shirt and said, I do this. That's why you are trash. Because I think for a lot of people, as soon as you do that, it opens up that gate. Right, so he marketed it really well, but that's my own point. So that, anyways, go stats. Anyways,
I'm going to touch on this for real fast. I think what happens is in this world that we live in is that we put people on the pedestal without not knowing information.
It's good.
Like Mr. Jackson, he never proclaimed he was this. He's just selling books. He's telling you what you need to do. To me, he reminds me of like, you know, your father or your uncle that was sleeping around with chicks, and he's telling you, don't do this, be faithful to your woman. So you can't get mad at the person that's doing wrong, but just listen to the message. Just listen to the message. Separate the message from the person. No one's perfect. We all have our flaws, and so it's about to separate. He's telling you, yo, don't do what I'm doing. He never said that, but he's a man, and sometimes men are only faithful, not all men, but some men are only faithful until their options are limited. You know what I mean?
Pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Pause.
I mean, I look at it. I mean, I look at it like he was just doing business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, people like to consume, and he knew this. You know what I'm saying? So what he did was write whatever books he wrote, whatever stuff he was saying, he was selling a brand. You know what I'm saying? He was selling. You know what I mean? So he would tell you, oh, blah blah blah, this and that. He knew this is what women wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you do it's once again, women buy mostly everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you picturing something to women, they're gonna come out in droves and support you. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how it is. So like, he knew this. So that's what he channeled in that, and he won. So, he in that sense, because he got his idea across. But at the same time, you gotta remember when you selling yourself, like you're not selling a book about somebody else. You're not selling an image of somebody else. Now, if he was selling the image of somebody else, like his name is Derrick Jackson, but he was selling, my name is Jordan Knight or some crazy name. You know what I'm saying? As a whole other person,
Right.
Yeah.
it would have been different.
Yeah, true.
It would have been different.
You
You know what I'm saying? But this,
that
but
old
this
that
dude,
old school, that old school was what do they call it? Where you do the sleight of hand. We have the little
you know
ball
what I'm saying?
underneath the cups and stuff. It's just like
Like, he didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? He should have, like, to me, he was better off being a rapper. You know what I'm saying? He could have changed. He could have D. He could have name could have been D Trash. You know what I'm saying? he he, he could have rhymed him.
or D bag. Straight up, we call it just straight D bag. Yo, they call me D bag. Douche for short.
He could have rhymed about all this shit. He could have rhymed about all that. Then he could have had songs about being a good man after all that, and people would have bought it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They would have consumed that shit. And then
Yeah.
when he got caught out there, it could have been like, yo, he said he told you in the music already. You know what I'm saying? Like, bad at it. They would have gave him a pass, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, like I said, consumerism and perception. So now what he did was he tried to sell himself as this, as this individual, and then you get caught out there. Now your brand is finished. It's finito.
For me, it was the factors when his missus jumped on and he had. I think that's where I think it was a 3. Do you know what it was? It's like, bad things happen in 3. This is the perfect example of it, right? You could believe in what you want to believe in, but this is the reality. It's like, first of all, you see video with him and his missus holding hands, right? So it's like, okay, right. We'll allow it. We know what you're doing. We know what you're doing, right? Then your missus comes out with the green beret, the army thing, gives her, powerful woman speech, and they're trying to make us, in the case of whatever, which in fairness, she is kind of right, because think about the amount of cheating people that's been out there that are still in relationships on both parts, that we still make things happen. So let's never forget the power of forgiveness. Right. But you live and you do your life. Well, yes, you're right. But for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was the third one, when he started speaking to himself in the third person. I was like, that was the point which made me come up to the conclusion that I get now why you are out here doing this, because he's trying to explain is that the Derrick Jackson who's been speaking to you ain't the Derrick Jackson that you think that you know. The Derrick Jackson that's been doing this is the Derrick Jackson, the same reason why I'm telling you not to do it, because when I was just like, okay, dog, I get it. But exactly like you said, Stats, you're profiting off this. You're selling books and lifestyles. However, we can't take away in certain cases. Let's just hope the damage isn't so far done. Is how many people he did touch that got them out of toxic and, manipulative ways of thinking from just general consumerism again. I think that is the easiest way to plant this, because despite what you consume, whether or not it's your friends or close family, or it's news outlets, or it's from what people are selling to you on adverts, the reality is the amount of good that did come off that, where you actually have heard people turning around and say, I've realized I was in the wrong. or I've realized I haven't. I'm not trying to take away from what his actions have been doing. I just find this hilarious because, so guys, take this how you want to. This is just a general discussion, but I find that just funny as hell. Is you were doing it all, and that's why you could talk about it.
To me, I'm a little cynical about this. To me, you know how reality is scripted? To me, it kind of felt scripted to me. Because at the end of the day, like you said, Stat, it worked because people still talking about it. And it's in everybody's skit. So I know that behind the scenes, thinking that how can we make more money off this? And what's going to happen? He's going to make a book about it.
Yep. I ain't buying it. I will download it. I'll put it out there straight. Yeah, you see, that's the power of the internet. I will spend my own personal time.
I never knew who he was. I never knew who he was.
Okay, right. So once again, shout out to Abba and Preach, because I was well aware of Derrick Jackson from watching this stuff from back then. But then, even though you're right, actually, short of a year, I did not know who he was. I know there's plenty of other people out there doing what he's doing, though. I just guess it's just like he really got caught out with his BS. That's just what's hilarious.
He got noticed because he fucked up.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was scripted. I won't be surprised if we'll see a movie made by Tyler Perry about this.
I would actually make it just for the bank. You think it's a joke right now? We need the money to help. We need money from marketing guys. We need to get the merch up. We out here trying to do for you. We need to hire people for this. So if you're gonna help us sponsor making a Derrick Jackson movie, we will do it, and we're gonna call it D-Bag for short. Literally, that's gonna be the full title: the Derrick Jackson movie, D-Bag for short. We going.
You know how many people will go watch that? If that was actually a movie, how many people will go watch it?
And the worst thing, because of us and our attention to detail, we would literally, it would be one of the greatest things you've ever seen. It's going to be up there with Judas and the Black Messiah. No disrespect to the two messages. Let's not get that confused. We're not confusing the messages. I'm just saying it's going to be up there with cinematic genius, because we're going to really get into it. Especially, you know, that all that juicy stuff that you're used to with Hip Hop Atlanta and all of these other things that teach you about this stuff and Sex in the City. Ooh, you ain't going to stop us.
In that world, any exposure is good exposure. It don't matter what kind of
special guest Medea.
Right, so wait a minute, Derrick Jackson and Medea. The cheating chronicles. What happened on stage?
That'd be twisted.
That would be crazy. Could you imagine a Medea? Oh, just they're all intertwined with Derrick, and they're like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this. I promote a good message." Medea, like, what's promoting?
He kind of looked like a Medea actor, like he was in one of the movies. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right?
But this is what I'm trying to say. Does art imitate life, or life imitate art?
That's a good question.
That's the ultimate question. And funny enough, I think one can't exist without the other, because one didn't happen without the other. Yep. Simple as. Yeah. But this is how we all take it, really. I suppose, you know what, but you know what, out of everything, we're not trying to, crap on high for especially another brother trying to be out here making it. But I guess it's what we're just trying to say to everybody is walk yourself down paths that you feel that you can answer for, regardless if it makes you feel like crap after. I think is the best way for me to express and to truly say that. Same way with me, same way with anyone else. Anything I talked about people, or any advice that I feel that I'm giving, or guidance, if it doesn't work or it doesn't whatever, take responsibility for it. And don't be afraid to approach that person and have a deeper conversation around. If anything we can take around from this is that it doesn't matter what color or what shade or what kind of sprinkles or what sugar or whatever the hell they've put onto it, packaging is still packaging. And it's not until you get behind the packaging and find out what the workings and how many loose bits and unnecessary whatever's it is makes what it is, do you start to understand things, and don't live in your own guilt for it. For something that he's done, like anyone said, I think the problem is that he dragged his missus through this whole thing as well. That for me was wrong. You could have left her, regardless of what it is. If she felt that she wanted to do something on her side, then cool, do that. Maybe she did want to do that. We don't know, because we're not there intimately with it. Right. But then there goes the deeper side of everything. It's just how much conversation did happen. So, I will say this to anybody: if you're not used to digging yourself into dark rabbit holes without being able to understand, there's some knowns and unknowns, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns you're never going to know about. Tongue twister, I know. Then that's the easiest way to deal with certain things, is being able to let that go and not allow yourself to get pulled like gravity to the whole thing. And this is going to segue quite interestingly and beautifully into the case of where you cement and you ground yourself into certain things because of the environments you're in and what you're subjugated to. So this one's very emotional, I suppose, is the best way to describe this for all of us. And this, I'm going to bring up the screen for this one. Shout out to Hip Hop DX as well, and to Kyle Eustace for publishing this out on April the 3rd, 2021, 2:43 p.m. So by the time that this is airs, it's obviously not going to be kind of known news. Well, not known, but it's obviously going to be known, but it's not obviously as instant. But yeah, man, I think this article says it pretty much all in all itself. You know, DMX is in a real bad way. So there's a title as it goes. You know, you have people like Eminem, Ja Rule, LL Cool J, Missy Elliott, and more rally around DMX following reported drug overdose. The hip hop community is rallying around DMX following a reported drug overdose. According to TMZ, the Rough Riders legend OD'd on Friday night, that was April the 2nd, and went into cardiac arrest. DMX was rushed to a local hospital in White Plains, New York, and is currently in critical condition as he fights for his life. ABC7 spoke to DMX's attorney, Maury Richmond, who confirmed he had a heart attack and was on life support, but wasn't clear on the drug overdose component. So as he quotes, I received a call this morning from Al Simmons was in hospital at the White Plains Hospital and that he had a heart attack, which said Richmond. I'm not sure how it was induced and that he is now on life support. And just to go to show, so, you know, if you guys want to check this out, it's on the Hip Hop DX, which should still obviously be there. But yeah, this goes into, we've had people like Eminem, Marshall Mathers, you know, Ja, T.I.'s shout out, Killer Mike, Ice Cube, Missy, LL Cool J, Chance the Rapper. That was actually a great video if you haven't seen it. Those, which I didn't even realize he was doing through the pandemic as well. Like that just goes to show you how much X was really doing his bits here. Ice-T, you know, Scissor, Maxwell, Little B, CJ, Secret, and that's not even to take away the, I mean, these are all of the main heads, but not recognizing all of us who have tweeted and found that this is the only way that we can shout out to people. So this is kind of a really explosive subject, just because of, especially as me and Ish were talking about, is if you guys haven't seen the Rough Rider Chronicles, you know, make sure you check this out. The full 3 episodes of as much as we kind of let into. But I think maybe it's because I'm from the UK. Like I already knew about, you know, the Locks being part of Diddy and whatnot. But Rough Riders didn't mean nothing to me until this man came out. He was the first official CD that I bought, not even through legitimate reasons. He was the first album I bought. It's Dark and It's Hell is Hot. And that was his, second or third album that kind of came into the game.
Yeah.
That was, he was my first guy that I bought off someone. My first official CD I bought, right? Not parents, not shared. It was this man, right? And just him in general, from the obscure dog barking to just the energy, the fact that he had asthma and still was busting down like he did. And then you come out to find out how deep the drug side of things come into, not publicizing that whole rock and roll lifestyle. But man, like the thing is just the whole heart attack, potentially, you know, like brain in a potential vegetative state. And we're obviously got well wishes goes out to X and all the family and to everybody who's been touched by this person. But I don't know what else I can really say to the matter, other than I'm like probably I don't want to say much just at this point, because the love and appreciation that I've had for this talk, like for real, like anytime I hear an X song, no matter what it is, and one of my, I think my favorite X track, in fact, maybe we should all start with that. Favorite X track has to be there's so many. Slipping. No, it has to. Slipping is my number 1 track, because it's the only track that's hard to find full with curse words. Most of the versions you're
Oh,
ever going to get is obviously going to be censored, but it's just the whole fact of the use of the beach. So shout out to the producer behind that. But just the beach, the whole essence behind that. But it's just that whole track when I've ever felt in a real way, and that track just seems to stumble upon myself. I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up.
Right.
Gotta get back on my feet so I can tear up.
Yeah.
Yo.
Right.
And that's what we're kind of expecting with this, man. Like, that's what we're used to with you. We have to lose you, dog, but it's such a turbulent life he's lived in order for him to give us the greatness that he has. So that's my 2 pence on that, guys. So sorry for the long one, but I had to.
No, it's all good, bro. But
yeah, nah,
I agree. Go
nah,
ahead.
yeah.
I agree with
Now I
you.
was
Like,
gonna say, yeah, it's agreeable, man. I mean, I agree with everything he said, but you know, I mean, DMX was one of those. I don't even call him an artist. I just think he was just like living his true sense out most. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and it just came out in artistically. You know what I mean? He was on that frequency. You know, and like he was a special artist for me because like he helped me through like a lot of stuff like personally, like listening to like the things he was saying. And then when I seen him, you know, relying on the Lord and you know doing certain things, like it was just like wow, you know. And Slipping was one of my, you know, one of my favorite ones. And then I don't know if it was Give to the Needy, you know.
Oh,
I
you
thought
don't
that's
be
the name
greedy.
of it. Yeah, that
Right.
song,
Don't be
like,
greedy.
man,
Get to the
yeah, that that used to put me on like a whole nother energetic like level. But you know, it's crazy, man. And like I remember one time, like I like one of my favorite things in hip hop, you know what I mean, was the time I got to, you know, like really see him. And I was at the Apollo at the Survival of the Illest tour, and yo, no joke, I've never seen nothing like this before in my life. I was in the backstage looking out the window because you can look out the window and you see like the side street because it's on 125th, but I forget the between streets. So it's one of the between streets that I was looking at, and it's mad people outside because that's like the back door. So I'm standing there, you know, looking out the window, and I see like a Suburban coming down the block, mad slow. And then all I hear is, "Where my dogs at?" Bro, this dude was literally driving down the block. He opened the door and just started screaming, "Where my dogs at?" Yo, everybody on the block just formed around the truck. Bro, the dude got out the truck, left the truck there, and just started walking in the middle of the block with everybody. I was like, yo, look, like just seeing that alone, like the power that this dude had, like over the people, just saying just screaming out where my dog's at. Everybody, like the shit just swarmed, you know, and he came in, you know what I mean? And he didn't perform because we were there all day. He didn't perform in the daytime, he performed at night. So he arrived like later on in the day. This is how I got to see him arriving. You know what I mean? And bro, when he performed, yo, he would not get on the stage unless everybody got off the stage. Everybody had to get off. If you wasn't, you know, if you was on the stage when he performed, like nah, not with everybody off. And he did something to Swiss. I ain't gonna say what he did, but if phones was out, it would be crazy what I saw. But I ain't gonna say what he did to Swiss. But Swiss played the wrong song in one of his you know, in his act. You know what I'm saying? He played one of the wrong songs, the curtain closed, and he straight like cursed Swiss out like I never seen before. You know what I mean? And he did something, he did something else, but I'll leave that alone. But you know, but when we just seeing him perform that night, like the energy that he had, and the whole stage was red. Like they turned all the whole Apollo turned red, bro. Just seeing that before he came out, I like, and I'm standing backstage watching that shit. I was like, yo, this is the best ever. Like I'm like, nothing could top that shit. So you know, in life, I'm just happy that I got to see that man, you know, at his highest point. And then this is when, you know, he was fresh on Def Jam. Then, so I think he sold 2 albums. They both went diamond. He was on top, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I just, you know, appreciate I got the chance to see that man because when I heard about what was happening, I was just like, damn, and like you could tell, like this is one person you could physically see the battle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying with his addiction. Like he wasn't afraid about it. And then when I found out how he got addicted, you see the interview when he talked about how he got tricked into smoking crack?
Yeah, no, I watched that on the that whole experience, and the fact the guy still to this day denies that's exactly how it all happened.
Yeah,
That's the thing that
and I'm
kills
like,
me.
yeah, and I'm like, damn, man, like like just to hear that shit, like to hear his story, I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? And for him to make it out all that and to be at the in the movies, to like, yo, DMX was big, bro. You know what I'm saying? And see that, it was just like, yo, man, like, yo, you can do
Bro,
anything. And
Romeo Must Die with Aaliyah and Jet Li. Are you being this, bro?
yeah,
Bro,
this
and the
is
way his character
this
was
is
in that as well.
right.
Yeah, no.
And this is like around the time, you know, around when that tour was.
Yeah.
I think Romeo Must Die was a little after. I think he probably filmed that like a year before, you know, before it came out. But I was just like, wow, man, just to feel that energy, man. And I don't, and to me, I mean, kids still have artists like that these days. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think you're going to get an artist such as DMX or Old Dirty Bastard or,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like these type of dudes, the way they presented themselves, the way they handle, you know, like their lives is, I mean, it's not canny. It's not something that you're used to, but you know it was the truth. You know what I'm saying? It was no gimmick. You know what I'm saying? And this man really shows you his heart. Like he gave it to you on a plate and prayed for you at the same time. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit that really caught people. You know what I mean? Because yo, if you was on his side, he genuinely cared. You know what I'm saying? And you can see that. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Shout to everybody that's, you know, on his side right now. You know what I mean? Shout to, you know, X's family, you know, his kids. I mean, everybody, man. I can only imagine, you know, what they're going through right now. But, you know, I give all my energy to him and his well-being and his health. You know what I mean? Hopefully he comes out of that and he could talk about it. You know what I mean? Do more music and because yo, Exter had a lot left. That's what I say.
Right.
You know what I'm
He
saying?
just done that whole thing with the locks. Like, I mean, I was waiting. I thought this is the thing that
Yo,
got me the
that
most was
shit,
that I thought especially with all the work he's been doing through quarantine, the Locks album from the Drink Champs to all of this stuff. He's got a new album coming.
yeah,
He
brother.
has
This is
a
what I'm
new
saying.
album coming.
This is what I'm saying, man. Like, yo, and I'm not gonna say too much more because I really gotta go soon. But you know,
Yeah,
one thing
sorry
I'll
about holding
say,
up.
you know, in this culture, man, in hip hop, we lose a lot of good people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's trauma in itself. There's no other culture that loses so many people like we do in hip hop, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know, to everybody listening, you know what I mean? Like, take each day, you know what I mean? Like you could do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, never try to waste a day, man, because you never know when you're gonna be out of it. You know what I mean? And that his addiction was a strong thing. You know what I mean? I don't know how that what you know. I don't know what he took. Nobody knows anything. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I know he was battling that a long time. You know what I mean? And to me, I think that new energy he had played a lot of part in what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like he was on a whole new high, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything was like starting over again. You know, because when I heard that the locks joint, I was like, oh, X is coming. X, he on the shit again. You know what I'm saying? He on the shit again. I was like, I like to see that, man. You know, but you know what I mean, shout out to his family, man. You know what I mean? It's a sad thing, but hopefully he'll be doing right. He'll be right back just like we watching right now.
Yeah, you know,
Wasn't
I'm gonna
crazy,
play
man.
that. I'm gonna play that on tonight's radio show. For real.
Fact,
So obviously by the time this
fact.
is out, this is gonna be out already, but it's gonna be on the number 4 with the Locks and DMX. Yeah, really bad. Oh, just but then
Nice.
you know what you're right. I mean, because obviously don't want to hold you up for too much longer than you are. Thanks as always, Stats, and for your contribution and stories. Because that's just crazy, man. Yeah, just having DMX roll up in your hood. Where am I? Yeah, I'm here. What's up, dog? I'm here, dog. Man. What we doing? What we doing? Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday. I don't care. Let's go do what we're doing. But you know what I think? Just touching on lightly is from someone who has leaned very much into juju, and I mean juju is in the sense of weed, that's what I call it, marijuana, cannabis, whatever you guys want to call it. And then also with alcohol is that there's a certain creative space, and also psychedelics, there's a certain creative space it leads you to. And once things are started to move and you're so used to operating in that position and mindset, it becomes your go-to. And I think that was the problem, is exactly like he's saying, is things are starting to go in a certain way, but he still most likely had crutches during those periods of time, as far as we're aware and that we know of. But that's also just because of how much the body is used to it. And where people say, well, you can overcome it with your mind. Look, I'm going to say to everybody here, try going from being a severe cigarette smoker, try going 3 days without nicotine. 3 whole days without nicotine, right? And Ish will back me up here. I weren't the same for those last 3 days until my little shekels came through. And I think to myself, if you're trying to tell me that anything that's A class is that times 100, I get why they do. I mean, I don't get it, but I understand it. If I'm that much and then there's a whole dependency on this whole other side of stuff, nah. Alcohol you can wean yourself off of. I know it can get bad for people, but yeah, that's doable. Things like nicotine and other sort of higher end A class drugs, that's a great thing about juju, and as well as like mushrooms and things. Yeah, I'm happy out here to say this, is that you can pull away from that. You can go a couple of days and you're all right, but you go too many far days and you're too deep in the alcohol basin of things, you can die from it. The same way with nicotine can come to such a point that you will start to do dumb shit. Like, I will put that out to anybody. So when people talk about addictive and mind states, once you're on something and you're in that space, unless you've been there, and I mean truly invested in being there. So I'm not encouraging you to, but once you've actually invested in that, you're gone. Ish, anything you want to say to wrap up the this pod on X and whatnot?
Yeah, man. On a big note, as we kind of end the podcast, I think we should end it off like this. The one thing is, I'm hoping that Earl Simmons, that's his real name, make it through, because unfortunately, what happens is, we all know he grew up in a troubled youth. And as he became well known for his talent, people love him for being DMX than being Earl Simmons. Separate the rapper from the individual. And I want to thank him for being an advocate for mental health without him just saying it. Because if you think about it, all his albums, he talked about dealing with mental health. So to me, he's a mental health hero, because he's told his truth in his music. And that's why it's so relatable to everybody, because we can relate to a DMX track.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I want to thank Earl Simmons for being, open and transparent with his stories, and as well as helping so many people on his journey. Nobody talk about the good things he's done for putting a lot of people on. Because if you think about it, if there's no DMX, there's no Rough Riders. They go hand in hand together.
Facts.
Yeah.
And the music he put out, and the
Facts.
stuff that he done, I just want to thank Earl Simmons for all he has done for the culture and just for life in general. Thank you.
For real. And we're not talking like you're gone yet, dog. We're just hoping, but we know that you're on a very tough road to recovery at this particular moment in time. So, as everybody else has said, our well wishes and spirits go to you on this day that we are recording it, which will be April the 4th, Sunday, 2021. Yo, just know you are truly loved. You, regardless of what you've gone through and the things that you've had to go through to get where you are, you literally are that tale of, a dog that's down that can always gets up. Dust yourself off and try again, man. For real. And even if hopefully this isn't the last speech on it, and if it is, then we're obviously going to tap into it anyways again. But just know we truly love and appreciate everything that you've done. And like Ish said, advocate for mental health without realizing it, an advocate for the Black people without realizing it, an advocate for the African people without realizing it. But you did what you had to do, and you only saw forward. And exactly like Ish said as well, and Stats, is that you gave so much and supported so many of us, whether it's for your music or personally and for what you knew. And I suppose is the way that I would take it. You know, if you're real, you're my dog. So, again,
right.
where my dog's at. For
Right
real.
here. They're right here, yo.
And that's it. I
Oh,
still call people my dog to this day, you know, for real, for real. But if you stay tuned into this very moment in time, or maybe this is the clip that you've caught yourself onto, or the part of the podcast that you caught yourself onto, like, comment, and subscribe. We went in for this new rebranding episode. We covered a lot. We got to hear much more about us and as we sit as people. Just know, real talk, guys, we actually do love you guys. I don't believe that love is love business, but the reality of the situation, sometimes love and understanding isn't always as commercialized as it's so to be. We just here for you guys. All right. So peace, love, all that good stuff. The High Creativity Podcast. We out here. Love to you, Ish. Love to you, Stats. Peace.
Peace.